Hi, welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly and this channel is all about creating print-on-demand designs using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in learning about, please do stick around. So today we are going to go ahead and create this design right here. This is a fun sort of vintage pinup style Christmas design. I am going to start doing a lot more Christmas designs coming forward for the next month or two. Well, really the next month, to show you guys how to do different techniques with Christmas designs. So this one says, I am dreaming of a red wine at Christmas. We created our very own sunset for the back there. And so if this is something that you would like to learn about, go ahead, stick around. Hopefully you'll hit like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll get you to learn some new things and some new tips and tricks. So we're on Canva's home page as usual, and this is my caveat. I do have a pro account and I do recommend it. It's pretty cheap. I had somebody asking about it and I just looked at the plans and pricing, and for a year, if you break it down, it was only like $10 a month. So it's definitely well worth it, and I use most of the pro features. A lot of the fonts and the designs that I use are pro features, so it's definitely worth having, especially if you're going to take any kind of print on demand seriously. And so that was my caveat there with Canva. I am going to go ahead and show you a design that uses Canva, Creative Fabrica, and Photopea. So it's a little bit more of a complicated design, so this will be a little bit of a longer video, but stick with it. It's going to show you some really cool techniques, I hope, and ways that you can go ahead and really make some original designs. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my custom size. I'm going to do 4500 by 5400 pixels because I'm going to be designing for a t-shirt. Okay. I do like to start with a black background. So as usual, I'm going to go ahead and just select black as my background color. Now for this design, I am going to use a retro sunset frame. I'm going to put my own mask on it. I am going to put some text with it. And then I am also going to put a graphic that I download from Creative Fabrica in it. So it's going to be a few steps. So the first step we're going to do is just go ahead and get our frame for our sunset background. So what I'm going to do is go to Elements, and I'm just going to go ahead. I can put retro sunset. And it really doesn't matter which color you pick. What matters is the shape. So for example, this is probably one of the ones that I would go with, except that I don't want the grunge. It's going to give you those gaps. So those lines and this overall shape, this is pretty much what I want. I just want it to be solid because I don't want grunge on this design. So I'm looking for something just like that, but a little bit more solid. Now there's different ones that you can do. This one would have, for example, a lot more lines, and so you would have more layers on something like this. So you can have as many layers or as few layers as you like. I'm looking for something really closer to this in terms of how many layers, because I don't want it to be too massive. Let me see here. This one might work well-ish if I cropped it, something there. And so that's pretty similar in terms of layers. It actually has one more layer than I would need. So it would be something like that would give me, nope, actually, oh, I did want that other one. Oh, I lied. Boom. So something like that would give me all the layers if I did it sort of this way. That's one way to do it. I do like this shape, the way it comes down a little bit more. This one doesn't come down as much. And so you can kind of play with what you like. I'd really like to find this one just in a not grunge sort of feature. And so I can keep looking. Here's that same shape, but it's kind of grunge again. So here's the same shape, close to the same shape. This one's more like this one here. So it doesn't curve in as much, but that's a lot more solid. And so we're just sort of playing with what we have, but I just want you to know that there's a lot of different options, and some of them are going to have thicker lines and some of them are going to have thinner lines in terms of the gapping. So again, you can kind of pick whatever you like, whatever you think looks good. So you can try to find your own sunset. If you can't find exactly what you want in terms of the line spacing, it's really easy to recreate this on your own. Again, we're just making a frame. So the easiest way to recreate this on your own would just be to go to Elements, go ahead and just pick any circle. Pick a graphic here. You want it to be something you can crop. That's the only catch. So as soon as you get a circle that you can crop, you can just go ahead and make it whatever size you want. So you want it to kind of fill the space, something like that. And if I was trying to duplicate the one that I have on the page but solid, all I would have to do here is go ahead, hit Control D, center it here, hit Control D, center it here, Control D, and depending on how many layers you want, I wanted 5, so just make sure everything's nice and centered. And then one at a time, what we could do would be to crop it. So you crop the first one, and let's say you make it, you know, however high, and then you take the second one, and then you would have to crop from the top and the bottom to make sort of that next strip, and so on and so forth. And then you can pick the next one and do the same thing, cropping from the top and the bottom to make the next strip. It probably would have been easier had I made these all different colors just so you could see, but you should be able to get a sense here really soon. And you know what, do I still have? There we go. So you can see how that looks. And so what I can do is then take this and I can drag it so that it kind of lines up with the one underneath. And then I can take this one and do the same thing. So I'm going to drag it to line up on the top and the bottom, something like that. And then I can take this one here. I guess I went way down with that. Where was this one even sitting? I'm not even sure. I think it was sitting somewhere here. Oh well, I can take it and I can bring it up. Something like that, and so on and so forth. This one obviously lost the sizing somewhere. Well, that was a bad example because I didn't get the sizing right, but you could definitely see how you can create your own layers there. A bad example. I'll do it better this time. I hit Control D here, take it, and I know. Takes a little playing with to master, but something like that. Hit Control D again, do the same thing. You do got to make sure it lines up right every time. Something like that. One more time, hit Control D again. Make sure it's all lined up. And crop. There. And that's how I could just sort of create my own circle and make sure that that all looks like it's lined up right. There it is. Cool. And then I could take my one from underneath my main frame here, if I can find it, and drag it out. And now I can change how much, you know, gapping there is. So let's say I think that space is a little big. I could, you know, pull it down a little bit, make that space a little bit smaller. Same thing here. I could take this one, pull it down, make that space a little smaller. And so here's how you could just sort of create your own frame that way, in terms of, oops, I want to get it just right. There you go. So that looks pretty good. So that's how I can create my own frame this way, and that's pretty easy to do too. So if you can't find exactly the size or spacing you want, you can always just create your own with circles, and you can do this anytime you want to make a sunset too. You can always create your own sunset that way, and then I could just change these colors individually if I wanted to so that they were all different colors. I'm going to go ahead and put clipping masks over each one of these individually. So essentially I'm going to get different colors. I'm just going to do it in a creative way. So you might have done something like, okay, let's go like red, and let's go like green, and then white, and then blue, and then whatever, yellow. I mean, so you could get a vintage sunset that way. I'm going to go ahead and put some masks over it. But here's my basic frame. So I'm just going to call this sunset frame. and go ahead. I'm going to download it. It needs to have a transparent background. It's a PNG, and that is all I need is my frame right there. Now, again, you could have used any of the ones that you found. I liked the one that I found. I just didn't want it with grunge, which is why I just kind of went and recreated it really quick. If I didn't mind the grunge, for some designs, you'll definitely want the grunge, but for this one, I didn't. You could, use it as is and not have to go through all of this. But there we go, created my own. Now what I want to do is find some kind of Christmas backgrounds that I'm going to use as masks. So I'm going to come up here to elements and I'm going to search for Christmas background. And so I can do photos, I can do graphics, it doesn't really matter. I'm probably going to look through both to see what I find that I like. For this, it's probably going to be better if I do something that's a little bit more solid in color because you don't want it to be too many colors on each stripe. I want each stripe to kind of look like one basic color. So I'm looking for different designs that may have more of like one basic pattern. So I can look Christmas pattern. So for example, here's a nice snowflakey one that I like. And if I hit this, I can find different kind of shades and colors of snowflakey ones too, things that come up. So any of these that are a little bit more solid in color might be good. And all you would do is figure out which area you want to cover, and you would cover it like that, and that'll be your mask. And so we'll do that with several different kind of patterns, and we'll create our own sunsets made out of different masks, and so that will look pretty cool. So this is another one that might be kind of cool if I did it that way. This one I would have to probably, if I really wanted it to work right, shrink it down so that it almost fit like that, and then I can Control D and kind of come across this way. Boom. Let me zoom in, make sure I don't have any gaps there. No, that looks good. So that could be a mask just by itself. Make sure I close all my gaps. I don't have any line gaps. There you go. So that right there might be a cool mask. I know we just sort of did that one, so sort of reddish. I could do greenish ones, might look good. Here's one that just sort of has sort of a starry look. That might be fun. So you're gonna have to go ahead and obviously take your time, play around. Maybe I will switch to photos and see what I find. Ooh, yeah, see, like this green one. I really like this green one. It's got some cool kind of patterns to it. So if I was to maybe put it here, that is now going to be a layer. And I could keep going. Maybe I find a red one, or, ooh, I like the gold sparkly one. Gold sparkles look nice. So let's say gold sparkles go here. I like that gold sparkle. And just make sure that you cover your whole frame. I'm looking for one more, maybe a red one up top too. There's a red sparkle there. I've seen some that look like this, but with the red snowflakes. That might be cool too. Here's just a red sparkle. It's got lots of sparkles in it. Depending on where I kind of crop it, that might look pretty cool with just a red sparkle there. I mean, so I could do something like that, and I think that looks pretty cool by itself. I could keep looking, see if there's anything else I like. But you know, that's pretty nice, and this is the basic concept of what we're gonna do in terms of coming up with a mask to go over it. Ooh, I like the glittery one too. Do I like glitter better or sparkle better? Hard to say. I'm gonna stick with the sparkle one. And you can of course make different versions too. Everybody likes to make different versions of things. Okay, so after looking through a lot of options, I've just decided to come up with this one right here. So these are gonna be my masks for my frame. So here I'm gonna go ahead and just put Christmas patterns mask. And this I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download, and it doesn't need to be a transparent background or anything. This is just going to mask my frame. And so this is going to be the backdrop for our design right here. So from here, I'm going to jump over to Photopea. So if you put photopea.com into your browser, you should pull up a page that looks just like this. It's really simple. If you hit the middle button here that says open from your computer, it should just pull up your downloads, and you should be able to go ahead and select the frame that you created. So the sunset frame. You give it a second and it will load up right here. So here you can see my sunset frame. Then I'm going to go to the top left-hand corner again where it says File. 3 spaces down, hit Open in Place. That should pull up your downloads again, and then you should be able to pick the mask that you just made. And it should put your mask right on top. So here's my mask, and it's sitting on top of my background layer here, and it is the one that's selected. So from here, I can just go ahead up to Layer, hit Clipping Mask. It will go ahead and create a clipping mask for me. And so now I have my own custom sunset, and it's a really cool custom sunset because it's given me sort of this Christmas style design. So I can go ahead now, just hit File, about halfway down, Export as a PNG. It'll take a second, but it'll pull up a box for you. There's your box, and then you can retitle it here. I can put let's say Christmas sunset. It's a PNG, it's still 4500 by 5400 pixels. Your quality, you'll probably want it to be anywhere between 90 and 100, depending on, you know, how detailed your design is. Sometimes 100 might be too big for Canva to upload. If that's the case, just bring the quality down just a little bit. And anything, you know, around 90, I've never had a problem with it being too big for Canva. So I'm just going to hit save right there. And then I can jump right back over to Canva. And then from here, I'm going to leave this alone because I like to kind of save my stuff in case I want to make any adjustments or tweaks. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a page. And so this is going to be the page I'm designing on now. I'm going to go to the left-hand side where it says Uploads. I hit Upload File. That should pull up your downloads, and you should be able to download the Christmas sunset that you just made. Perfect. So now I've got my Christmas sunset. I can put it here, and there you go. Boom. And so just like that, we now have our very own custom backdrop. So just like that, that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to be designing, I'm going to put kind of a graphic here. I'm going to put some words along the top and some words along the bottom. So that's kind of the style I'm going to go with. When I'm doing this, it's a little bit easier to start small and then group everything together and blow it up big. I just want to make sure I've got enough room around here to work. So I'm going to start kind of small like that, but I've still got it nice and centered in the page. And so let's go ahead and pick some text. So I'm going to hit T on my keyboard. That should pull up a text box right there. And then we're going to go ahead and start typing. I'm going to go ahead and make this on all caps. And what I'm going to put is, I'm dreaming of a red wine. And then the bottom is going to say Christmas. So I'm dreaming of a red wine is what I have so far. I'm going to put it up here. I do need to change the color so that I can see it. So temporarily I can pick any color I want. And so something like that. And make it a little bit bigger so I can see it. And it is going to end up curving around this circle here. And then down here, I'm going to pull up another text box. This one's going to say Christmas. And I'm going to make that kind of big down here. So it's going to be something like that. And now we're just going to go ahead and pick some fonts. Now you can pick any font you want. There are several Christmas fonts that I've seen that I like. Creative Fabrica has a bunch of Christmas fonts too that you can download. And again, Canva has a bunch of fonts that are really cool. So, you know, pick whatever you want. I know that for this one, I want to use some of my Christmas fonts. So for this top one here, I had decided to use a font called Christmas Kindness. And this is one that I had downloaded from Creative Fabrica. But I do like it and think that it looks pretty good for this design. And then for the bottom one, I had decided to use another Christmas one. And the second one was called Holiday Christmas. Yeah, Holidays Christmas. And so I liked that one there. The cool thing about the holiday Christmas one is it's a little bit narrower, which is kind of nice. So I can make it kind of big. And actually for this one, I think I don't want it to be all caps because of sort of some of the regularities that you see. So what I can do, if I get rid of caps, there we go. And so that looks kind of cool. I can do it that way in lowercase. I can even make the C lowercase. Yeah, I think that looks better in lowercase. It's all going to flow better. So let's go ahead. That's going to be Christmas there, and that one's going to be a lowercase one. And then I'm going to have this one here, which I'm going to need to make quite a bit bigger, and it's going to be wrapping around the circle. So I put it up here, and then I'm going to go to Effects and go ahead and go down to Curve. And so now you can see how I can get it to curve around the circle real nice. Now I do want it to kind of go all around the circle really. So I am going to go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. And it's going to need to be curved a little bit tighter if it's going to be that big. And then I can fill in the rest of the space if I want to just by separating the letters. So I could go up here where you see spacing. It's a little arrow that goes up and down. And I could put the letter spacing a little bit wider to make it fill a little bit more. And so you can always play with the letter spacing that way. If I think it looked a little bit better, maybe a little bit closer, I can again just go ahead and play with the size of the font. So maybe not that spread out. Trying to see what looks good. That spread out looks good. And then I can go ahead and just make this a little bit bigger somewhere here. And that'll look good. And then all I have to do is again play with the, oops, go up to Effects. I'm going to curve it in just a little bit more. And that looks nice right there. So I'm happy with the way that that looks. And then the Christmas, I'm going to go ahead and make nice and big so that it kind of goes side to side. And so I'm going to do something like that. Now, of course, I can go ahead and pick whatever colors I want now for the font. I think I was going to go ahead. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make this a golden color. So more like to match the gold here. So I'm going to switch the text color. And I can go ahead and use my eyedropper feature to pick out whatever light shade of gold that I wanted. So something like that might work nicely. And then for Christmas, I was going to make that gold, red, but with a gold outline, give it a really nice Christmassy look. So again, I can use my eyedropper feature and I can pick whatever shade of red I like. So I could pick red from down here, or I could pick one of the reds from up here. Doesn't really matter, whatever I think looks good. Now that's pretty dark, but I am going to put a light outline around it. So you might want to keep it that dark. If that's a little too dark, I can again try to pick another shade of red. I could do the red from down here. I guess that's still pretty dark. So no matter which red I go with, it's still kind of dark. But let's go ahead and put the gold around it. So let's go and I'm going to go to Effects. This time I'm going to do Outline. I'm going to go ahead and select the gold color that I have here. And then I can play with the thickness. So it's pretty thick there. I can make it thin, a little thick, so you can play with however much you want. If I do that, I'm obviously going to close in the gaps in terms of the space. I can make it a little bit, play with it there. I want it to be thick enough that it's obviously meant to be a bold outline. Sometimes if you go so thin like that, it doesn't quite look right. It doesn't look like it was meant to be, like it was purposeful. I do want it to look purposeful, but not overdone. So purposeful, but not overdone. I might do something like that. I think looks pretty cool. I do think I want that red to be either a little bit lighter or a little bit brighter. So lighter or brighter, but not necessarily that dark. So I'm going to play with some of the reds up here, see if I can get that a little bit brighter. That one's a little brighter. And so I like the way that that's looking. So now I need to come up with a graphic to put in the middle. So it says, I'm dreaming of a red wine Christmas. I need something with wine. So you could put a wine bottle, you could put a wine glass, you could put somebody drinking wine, you could put anything wine related that you want. I happen to know that there's some cool vintage pinup girls with wine on Creative Fabrica, and I saw them and I liked them and I wondered, how can I use them in a design? And then poof, I came up with this, and I thought this is a great way to be able to incorporate that. So I'm going to jump over to Creative Fabrica, and from here I'm just going to go ahead and I can search for vintage pinup and girl or girls, girl. And I can already see the one I want is this top one right here, actually. Oops. There it is. And so this one had a few of them with some of those old-fashioned girls with wine, and they're wearing red, which is just convenient for this. So that's what I decided to go with. So, I mean, I can hit download here. And by the way, this does say commercial and full POD usage allowed. Once I've downloaded it, it is going to be a zip file, so you will have to open that file, select which individual files you like, and drag and drop them into your download section on your computer. You may not want all of them, so you can individually pick which ones you want to drag and drop. Once you have those, you can just go right over to Canva. And once you're back on Canva, you would go to the tab that says Uploads. And from here, you click Uploads, you can click Upload Files, and you can pick whatever upload you want off of your download section. So for example, here is one that I just uploaded. For whatever reason, it threw it backwards. Oops, here it is. So here is my pinup girl, and I can go ahead and shrink her down a little bit, and I'm going to put her so that she lines up with the bottom here, just like that. Maybe shrink that down a little bit, and then I might take her. Oops. I need to make sure that she is in the foreground, so you may have to play with your layers here. There she is. And I'm going to move her over just so that I feel like she's kind of centered. So once I feel like she's in the center there, that looks pretty cool. So I like that. I'm dreaming of a red wine Christmas. It has a very vintage kind of pinup girl look. It's got kind of the classic Christmas looking fonts here, and we created our own cool vintage sunset background. So I know this was a little bit involved and a little bit longer video, but hopefully it gave you some cool techniques that you can use. And you can kind of create some of your own designs. And once you have sort of this style of a background you like, of course, it can be very easy to scale out with different graphics, different words. Once you know how to do it, you can create a lot of your own cool sunsets for different things. So that was it in a nutshell. The only other thing really to do would be to kind of group this together. So if I go out in the corner and I go ahead and left click, hold that down, and then I can drag over everything. Once it's all grouped together, then I can go ahead and place it in the page wherever I want. And at this point, I can sort of resize it however I want to. So if I want to make it a little bit bigger, or if it wasn't quite centered, that is where I can start to sort of play with that. And boom, now I've got it the right size, and it's centered, and it's placed in my page just the way I want it, and it is ready to go on a shirt for Christmas. Again, it's meant for a nice dark color shirt, but it would work well on obviously black or darker gray. It could also work well on a navy blue. I mean, I used colors that I thought might pop on different darker colors. So for example, I can change the background color here just so you guys can see it. If I was to go with something like a dark green, not that green, but like a dark hunter green, you know, it still pops. So you could have it on a green shirt, for example, or I could throw it on more of a navy blue shirt, and that still looks pretty good. You could do a nice dark gray shirt, like a heather gray, and that would still look pretty good. And so it does work with a lot of different ones. And if you pick a dark enough gold, it'll even work on a white shirt. So I could throw that on a white shirt as well, or even make it a nice sticker. So if I just made that gold maybe a little bit of a darker shade, it would look pretty good on a sticker as well. And so this is pretty versatile. And so I like the way that that all looks. I can go ahead and title it and save it now. I'm just gonna put Red Wine Christmas. And then I can go ahead, hit share, hit download. It's gonna be a transparent background. It's a PNG. I only need page 2, so make sure you just have your page 2 selected, done, and then I can hit download, and now it is totally ready to go on anything that you like. And I leave this top one up here because it has my frame and it has some of my layers. So if I wanted to just maybe switch out one layer, I could do that pretty easily. Or if I wanted to change the order of the layers, for example, I've got that all here so that I could work with it. And of course, if you want to play with it, but you don't want to necessarily mess up your original, what you can always do is hit duplicate page. So I can duplicate the page. Now I can leave this one alone and I can play with this one without messing up the original at all. So that is one way that you could go ahead and just sort of play with everything. And of course I could take my sunset here and group that together just to make sure that it doesn't get moved or messed up in any way. And then there I've got my easy to do frame and my easy to do layers and my design. So anyways, I'm sorry for the long video. I hope I made it worth your while. I hope you learned some new techniques, and I hope you got some good ideas for things that you can be working on. If you have any questions about any of this, go ahead and drop it in the comment section below. I do try to get back to everybody as quickly as I can. I do have a lot of Christmas videos coming up throughout the next month. So if you have any requests, again, drop in the comment section below. I'll see if I can add you to my list. And again, don't just be designing for Christmas. There's a lot of stuff going on in the fourth quarter that you can be designing for. There's lots of evergreens that you can be designing for that, you know, people will buy as gifts for Christmas. But I am going to go over some of the basic Christmas styles over the next month. So if you're interested in that, be sure you hit like and subscribe so that you can, you know, check out that content. I am a growing channel, so I do appreciate all the positive feedback, and I do appreciate all of the likes and subscribes. That really does help me. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope to see you guys again. That's it for today's video. If you found this useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.